Right, and here we are. So, hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Einav Untangled Coaching, even, and this is another healing conversation. Today with me is Gemma-Marie Gaynor. Hello,
Hello, it's lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
really lovely to have you here. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Who are you?
Hello, everybody. I'm Gemma, and I run Secrets of Arwen. And I think my main sort of thing that I do is I help people to understand what their destiny is in life and how they can actually take the steps to be in control of their own destiny rather than sitting around and waiting for it to happen to you. So I do this with a number of different methods. My most The most fascinating one, I think, is numerology, which looks at your date of birth and the numbers that you work with within your life and sort of indicates aspects of your personality that you may want to develop or adapt as you move forward so that you are in the driving seat of your own life rather than just um, repeating the same day over and over again.
Mm. And wait. There's so many things to ask and so many things to unpack here. So first of all, I guess numerology, I always say it wrong, so forgive me, everyone who is watching and is struggling with me how to pronounce it. But how does that work really? I mean, how is my date of birth and where I was born and stuff, how is that unique to me? Maybe we'll just start with that, and then I'll ask all these other questions that I have.
Okay, perfect. So numerology, the first part of numerology, I think that everybody will happily, easily Google and find out for themselves is their destiny or life path number. And that number relates directly to your date of birth. So, in the same way that if you are born between this date and this date, you are an Aries or a Capricorn or whatever. Um, when in numerology, it's much more specific than that because we're looking at the actual day that you were born rather than the time period, the month in which you were born. Um, and that can identify and highlight variety of different aspects within your personality. So one of mine, I'm a destiny path number 2, which means that one of the things I am not very good at is confrontation. And I know that there are lots of people out there who are very happy to stomp around in their big boots and say what they really think and lay down the law, as it were. I am certainly not one of those people. I'm much more of a peacekeeper. I want to keep everybody happy.
That is quite interesting, actually. And immediately my mind goes to a lot of my clients. They work in corporates and stuff, and in their environments, they have all of this kind of personality assessment that is then going to be used to how to work in a team together, and exactly as you said, the personalities. So why are they using these assessments rather than numerology? Oh God, we need to find it a nickname.
I think because when you I think it's a mainstream thing. I think that numerology just hasn't quite made it as mainstream as some of the big sort of psychological testings out there that you can do. um,
Mm,
I would also say that numerology is very, very truthful. And when you explore your own numbers what your destiny path should be and the sort of things that you should be doing in life, it can really hold up a mirror to your good traits and your not so good traits, and it can really sort of show to you where you are going wrong.
that sounds fascinating. So give me examples. Like what is do we all have? Bad trait? What is bad trait? What tell me. What give me
Yeah,
examples.
I mean, a numerology, every number has positive aspects and negative aspects. That's how the world works. There's night and day. There has to be light and shadow. Um, and so, for the example that I gave, so I'm a peacekeeper. I don't like confrontation. But what that also means is I'm not very good at standing up for myself. I'm not very good at showing up for myself and saying what I really think because I'm scared of upsetting other people.
Mm,
One of the other things with a destiny number 2 they're not very good at making decisions. And some people are very quick at making a decision and sticking to it and going through it. Twos aren't. Twos will ponder and wait and be unsure and not make the decision until you reach a point where actually the decision has been taken away from you and you're no longer in control of what's happening because you didn't make the choice in the first place. Now you're just dealing with the ramifications of whatever happened. And that is not a good place to be in. You need to, have the ability and the strength to make your own decisions. So in learning about numerology, I am now fully aware that decision making is not my strongest point. And so I work with that instead of just being like, well, I can't make decisions, so I'm not going to. I know that I can't make decisions, or I struggle to. So I have to find a way to make them and be in charge of my own life rather than just waiting and seeing what happens.
And this was what I was going to ask, because what you're saying is basically with the number thing, you're able to find things about yourself, but it's not there to, it doesn't have to stay right. But if we take the example of making decisions, and for me as a coach, I help people to make decisions and to find ways of making decisions. Does that change anything, or is it basically it's a two at the foundation, but now you've moved on and found a new way of doing things?
You're absolutely right. It is about becoming self-aware and knowing. It's the difference between knowing something about yourself and using it as an excuse as to why you can't move forwards, or knowing something about yourself and then doing something about it to change it. It doesn't mean that I'm going to suddenly wake up one day and love confrontation and be the world's best decision maker. It's never going to mean that. But what it means is I know that I'm not very good at it, and I do something about it to make sure that it's not holding me back.
Amazing. So maybe we'll take a step back for a second and just tell us how did you get into all of that, and what was calling you when you discovered this, I don't know, art, I should say.
Okay, so it was way back in 2012, so 10 years ago now. And I've always been a learner. So number 7 is the number of learning. So if you've got lots of 7s in your date of birth, or your date of birth adds to a 7, you like learning and analysing stuff. And I've always been a learner, and I used to go to the local it was a pub, but every month they did a talk about a different spiritual topic. And I would go every month and to learn more about whatever the topic was. And one evening it was a guy, my mentor, Richard Abbott, who was talking about numerology. And the room was absolutely packed. And I ended up having to sit on the floor with a scrap of paper and a pen in the middle of this in this room, listening to Richard talk about numbers and what they meant. And throughout that session, we all learned how to calculate our destiny number. He told us what each of those numbers meant. And it was like he was just speaking to parts of me that I didn't even know existed. And every word that came out of his mouth, I was just completely in awe with. And I was hooked straight away. I was hooked. And after the talk, I went over to talk to him a little bit more and booked a reading, and thus began a 10-year friendship and mentorship. And I'd sort of never looked back, really, because not only does numerology teach us who we actually are and how we can do things to make our lives better, but it can also explain what the energy is that we're working in at the moment. So if I take an example, we're in 2022. 2 plus 2 plus 2, not counting the 0, of course, because 0 isn't really a number. It's a lack of a number. So 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 6. So this year, universally, everybody who works within the same calendar that we do is working with an energy of 6. And the energy of 6 is all about service to other people. It's all about building communities, and it's all about your responsibilities to other people. So we're all at the moment working under this energy of it's not about me, it's all about the greater good. And I think if you sort of look at world events, there are a lot of things that are being portrayed as this is for the greater good. Whether they are or not is up for discussion, but there is this kind of sense of duty and responsibility, and we all need to pull together for the sake of our community. And that's happening across the globe in a variety of different strengths as well. So if you look at places where lockdowns are very, very strict at the moment, it is a responsibility that everybody adheres to that for the sake of the community, if you see what I mean. Mm-hmm. So we're all working under this energy. And of course, we all have our own personal cycles within that as well. So numerology not only tells us about ourselves, but about what is happening around us and how we are connecting to that.
Interesting. So basically, when people come to you and they say, oh, I'm feeling off, I don't know why, and a lot of the time maybe they look at the moon or something like that, then you can say, actually, there's maybe the moon, but there's another reason, and here it is.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, currently, personally, I'm in a year number 5. So we all move in cycles of 9 years, 1 to 9 being the 9 digits that exist. Of course, 10 being 1 plus 0, which is 1. So I'm in year number 5 at the moment, and that is all about change and opportunity. So things in my life are going to change dramatically this year, and you may find that means you move house, you change job, opportunities open that never would have been before. The reason why I'm talking to you today is because I took the decision to say yes to an opportunity that arose for me, because that's the year that I'm in. So yeah, it's a very interesting thing to sort of look at how I feel this year compared to last year, how I feel this month compared to last month.
Right. So this is interesting. Sorry, everything is interesting. I'm probably going to say it all the time, but what I find interesting here is, as you say, it's about change and opportunities. So it's not necessarily about what we tend to do, which is kind of label things if they're good decision or good opportunity or bad one. It's really maybe just taking an observer role and just noticing that all of these opportunities coming, and then it's your choice of which one to join or take on and which not. So I like that. I think for me to just try, I can understand it, because I guess when I'm thinking about things coming up, we then have to decide, are we going to do it or not, right? So a little bit of the decision making here. But actually, it's when we show up with curiosity, like, oh, this is something that is new. How do I feel about it? And then deciding if to approach it or not, rather than thinking that everything that comes up is immediately and necessarily a positive, life-changing opportunity.
Yeah, you've got it exactly. The 5 is the year of change and opportunity. That doesn't mean good change and good opportunities all of the time. It means that lots of things will change and there will be lots of doors opening for you. It's up to me to then decide which ones are the ones I'm going to walk through, which can mean that a year 5, for example, is quite chaotic because there's just stuff happening all of the time, and that can be very difficult for some people to manage, because a lot of people don't like change. They want to stay the same. Again, it's that, I know that this is a 5 year, so am I going to be brave enough to open those doors and walk through them? Are they good doors to walk through?
And that is a question to be seen.
And that's exactly what I try and instill into my clients, is that it's your choice. If you are choosing to stay in a situation that is not serving you, you're making that choice to stay. And no, it's not always as easy as, right, that's it, I've had enough and I'm leaving. Sometimes we need to have a plan in place so that we can leave and move on and leave things behind that aren't working for us anymore. But if you're choosing to completely ignore it, head in the sand, it will get better by itself and I just have to hold on a bit longer, then you need to ask yourself, am I really living this life or am I just existing?
That is a good question. So I'm curious about the other years. Like you said, you are in year 5. So what other years are there? How do I know which year I'm at? How do I calculate my number? I have so many questions.
Okay, let's start with the really easy one, which is your destiny number. That's really easy to calculate. You simply just add the digits of your date of birth together. My example is a really rubbish example for maths, I'm afraid, because my date of birth is the 15th of the 2nd, 1983. Now, when you add that together, hopefully some of your viewers will understand what I mean when I say long addition. So I write 15 on the top row and 2 on the next row down and 1983 on the next row down. And then I'm adding it in columns like this. So I add 5 plus 2 plus 3, which is the first column. And then I add the 1, there's nothing in the second column, and there's the 9 in the next column. Now, if you add all of that together, you end up with, unfortunately, the year 2000. So it adds up to 2000. So my date of birth is very clearly 2. My destiny number is very clearly 2. But if you end up with 1973 or something like that at the bottom, you simply add those digits together. So 1 plus 9 plus 7 plus 3. And you keep going until you get one single digit between 1 and 9. That is your destiny number. Now, there are hundreds of apps and websites on Google that will do this for you. You can message me and I will do it for you. If you want to work out the year that you are currently in, that's a bit more I was going to say a bit more complicated. It's actually not. You add your last birthday. So my birthday is in February, so I'm already in 2022. So I would add 15 plus 2 plus 2022, which gives me 5. But if you haven't had your birthday yet this year, you are still in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So if your birthday's in July, you would put 14th of July, 2021, and then you'd add that up, and that's your current year. So that's how you calculate it. And of course, if you want to know more about this, please just message me. I will happily do the maths for you. Haven't got a problem with that. So would you like me to talk a little bit about what each of the years mean?
To me, that sounds fascinating. Kind of, yes, please.
Okay. So if you are in year number 1, excuse me, if you're in year number 1, that's the start. It's the beginning. You will find that you will feel like a new chapter is beginning in your life. You may find that all of a sudden you want to work for yourself. You want to be independent. You want to be the leader. Often it's about being the explorer. So going out and finding new things, new people, and new places. So the 1 year is a very good one for starting new projects. If you want to start a new business, that's a great time to do it. It can mean that you're not so good at listening to other people during that year, but it's a great time to start things. So year number 2 would be about balance. And it's about finding harmony and peace. So you would want to do the things that keep other people happy. You will become the peacekeeper during that year, and you will seek balance. So if you are in an unhealthy work-life balance situation, you will find that is very difficult for you to handle during year 2, because what you're craving is a more stable, balanced life. So year number 3 is all about joy, finding the joy in life and appreciating the beauty around you. It's a very creative time, so you'll often find that you want to redecorate your house, or that you want to buy lots of things that are pretty to have in your house around you. And that you want to be quite social and spend time with other people. If you're in a year number 4 is the year of hard work. This will be a very draining year for you. And you will find that everything is to do with paperwork, organizing. There'll be loads of admin to do. There may be legal issues that pop up. That it's all that kind of red tape, authority stuff that will happen in a year number 4. Year 5, we've talked about change and opportunity, very chaotic, lots of things happening. Try not to plan too much because it probably won't work out and things will change as you go along. Year number 6, we talked about as in the universal year, but for you personally, you'll find that you're probably drawn to, or probably have to look after other people during that time. It will be about your family, your friends, your circle of whoever is within that circle. It won't be about you. You will end up having to say yes to everybody. You will feel resentful about having to say yes to everybody. You'll think that you're burning the candle at both ends, and it's very easy to experience burnout in a year 6. So it's definitely something to be aware of. Year 7, we said a little bit about. It's the year of learning. It's the year that you are probably most likely to be drawn to anything of a mystical nature. So anything to do with your spiritual self, learning yoga, starting meditation, all of those things tend to happen in a year 7. Year 8 is a great year if you are a business-minded person, because it's the year of success. And it's sort of like it's reaping the fruits of your labor. So you've been working all these 7 years towards whatever goals it is that you have in life. And year 8 is the time when the jigsaw puzzles start to fall into place and everything is going well. And there's a lot of opportunity for progression and growth, particularly around money in year 8. It also means that because your focus is on the material plane, it's not necessarily on connecting with other people. So you may find that you are not being understood, or that you don't understand people during that year. And year 9, of course, is the end. So 1 is the beginning and 9 is the end. And you will find that things do come to an end in year 9. So you may find that your job is now, it's time for it to be over and you need to go and find a new job. You may find that it's the end of the chapter of you living in the home that you're in. Relationships that aren't working anymore will usually end in a year 9. That doesn't mean you have to wait until year 9 to do any of these things. They just happen more in year 9. And you'll probably experience more loss than you would normally. So whether that is friendships falling away, or actually the loss of a person or a pet or something like that, it is the natural ending point for the cycle. So it can be quite a difficult year, but one of the ways to handle it is to give as much love, time, effort and energy to others as you can. And that's a very quick sort of idea of what each year means.
But it's fascinating, and I think what I'm sensing here is that really some people might come to you or to me or to their friends, and just say, it's like recognizing that you have a theme in this, how you're feeling, and of course you don't have to buy into it. You just notice it, and then you can make a decision about how do I want to move forward, right? Because as you said, we don't have to do anything. We just need to understand what is going on and maybe what the influences are, and so to know that we do have a way to be in control, even if things are in this way inclined. So tell me, what is the way that you're working with people? How does that usually, what does it usually look like?
Okay, so on a very basic starter level, I will always talk about your destiny, the current year that you're in, probably the month that you're in as well, and try to help clients to understand where they are, because sometimes we feel so stuck that we don't understand what's happening in our own situation. So to understand more about who you are and where you are is the starting point. And then we sort of look at, okay, so what things have led you to be where you are? So, for example, I have a client who, let me think. Okay, so I have a client who has absolutely no focus at all in their lives. They're trying to start a business. They've been doing it for a couple of years. Doesn't really seem to be getting anywhere, but they're also not doing anything to grow their business. They don't know what they want to achieve in life. They don't know where they're going. They have no clue. And so the first step, we understand who you are and where you are. And then we look back at what things have made you feel stuck like this. And a lot of that for this particular client was their relationship with their parent, and how that has led to this belief that I can't achieve anything. I can't achieve. I'm not somebody who finishes things. I'm not somebody who's any good at doing anything. Mm. And then we can unpick that issue. Why is that? And it's not about what the other person did or didn't do. And it's also it's about where the other person is and what our expectations of that relationship should be compared to what they are. And that is sort of like the key. What is the should? What is it that you expect? And how is that expectation not met? And then understanding that actually you can't expect other people to meet you where you are if they are not able to. Sometimes parents can't parent us in the way that we want them to because of their own situations, their own upbringings. And to be able to identify that, unpack it, and let it go means that I now understand that my belief that I can't achieve is nothing to do with me. It's something that I've learned, and now I can unlearn it. And we let it go, and then we can move on and start to make a pathway forwards.
Right. Let me just see if I understand this. Because in my coaching, for example, I always say that, you know, when you have a challenge with a situation or with a person, it's always it's not about them, because this is basically the universe has put this thing in your path so that you can make the learnings and find your way forward. But what you were saying, and maybe specifically about the parents, but maybe not, that actually it is important to understand a little bit more about this other party so that you can understand, I guess, in a sense, also you make the learning, because you understand, you know, that you can't expect and you can't, you know, have this belief that people need to do things for you. But yes, so it is, I guess, the main difference here is that you're saying, when we understand where they're at and maybe understand the year and what they're going through, then we can see that actually maybe their focus is not where we want it to be, and therefore we let go and concentrate on our own growth.
Yeah, kind of. That's kind of what I mean. So a good example is if you're in a relationship with your partner and you feel that they should communicate with you better, or they should be able to tidy the house without you telling them, or all of those things, what all of that should, all it does is build resentment in you, because you are expecting somebody else to should. You and they may not know that that's what you expect. They may not have ever experienced, oh, I'm supposed to pick up after myself. Oh, I'm supposed to communicate with you in this way. They may not have ever learned that. And that is, you know, neither their fault or not their fault. It just is what it is. It's just the truth. They're not able to meet your should for whatever reason. So your options are, I continue to enforce the should and continue with the resentment and continue with the disappointment, or I recognize that they can't do that. And then I have a choice. Either I see if I can work on them with it, or I accept that this is how it is and I change what my perception will be, or I choose to not continue with that because it's not growing me and moving me forwards. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. I love it. I really love it. It's you know, this for me, it's really key, this understanding that actually nothing is either good or bad. It is really what it is, and then it's what we do with it and how we react to it that is, you know, moving us forward. in either direction that we end up moving forward. So what is something that you can share about some aha moments that your clients are having? I mean, other than the story with the parents, what else can you share with us?
So I have one of my, I'm not going to say favorite client because I don't have favorites. All my clients are my favorites. But one of my first ever clients came to me and said, I just don't feel like I'm being the person that I am on the inside. And I feel like I get up in the morning, I go to work, I come home, I walk the dog, and I go to bed. And then I wake up and do the same thing the next day, and the same thing the next day. And that's not who I am on the inside. And I don't know how to change it.
Mm.
And we talked around that for a little while. And within a couple of weeks, it came out that she had always had this yearning to be a parent. She wanted to be a mum. She'd tried the natural way, and it hadn't worked for her. And so she'd gone down the adoption route, and she'd been told that she couldn't adopt for some health issues. And so she'd kind of given up completely on that idea and just accepted that this is my life now, and that's it.
Mm.
And so we talked about the health reasons and the reasons why she had been turned down for adoption. And I said, okay, so why aren't you addressing these issues? I've tried everything. I can't lose the weight. I can't do this. It just doesn't happen for me. I can't stick to anything, blah, blah, blah. And then we unpicked that a little bit. And what we discovered was that she couldn't lose the weight because she didn't want to lose the weight. The weight wasn't the thing. The weight wasn't the focus. That was the doctor's focus, the doctor's expectation of what she should do. But it wasn't her. It wasn't her focus. It wasn't her want. She wanted the baby. She wanted the family. She wanted the mum, to be the mum. So we worked on, instead of focusing on the weight, let's turn it around and focus on the family. So when you adopt, what will your life look like? What sort of things can you see yourself doing with your children? And we talked about that. And then all of a sudden, because suddenly we're now aligning ourselves with our destiny, with the thing that we should be doing, we're taking control and focusing on what we want to do and what we should be doing. All of a sudden, a new dance class came up that she said yes to. I'm going to do this. And we talked about, this is where some of my psychic abilities come in. We talked about different eating habits, and I would get little messages that say, oh, have you tried elderberries? I'm being told elderberries. And then she'd look into it and discover that elderberries are fantastic for her particular health situation. And the weight came off. And I said, okay, so when are you going to apply? When are you going to put the paperwork in? And it took a while. That confidence really needed developing, and that belief. And of course, all the past instances where she's been told she can't and she isn't good enough, and all of those things, all of that needed to be sorted out and gone through and let go of, so that we can clear the way for the past to come forward. And the long story short, she has been accepted the whole way along, and I think she's a couple of months away from getting the family that she has always wanted, but when I first spoke to her, believed would never happen. And so for her, the first aha was that the weight wasn't the issue, because it wasn't the thing that she wanted.
Interesting, really interesting. And I guess that's what you're saying about manifesting your destiny, because when you realize that maybe you were focusing on the wrong thing, or I guess also when you're focusing on the wrong thing, you have your own resistance that is coming up, and now you have to deal with that instead of the thing that you really want. So it's aligning what you want. So it's really interesting. It's really interesting, like you said, with this client, that you had to do some digging and then realize that actually the thing she wanted most was to be a mom. And then you also mentioned the psychic abilities and stuff. So what does that look like together? as you work with your clients, you obviously mentioned that as soon as they come in the door, you take all the numbers and you do all the calculations. And then what? How do you know really? How do you dig with them, or how do you help them find what the destiny that you're really meant to have?
So, for clients who are in a position where they just feel like they're not who they are, they're completely stuck, they don't know what to do, or how to even break away from where they are and get to where they want to be. The way that I work is I do a 6-month program. So basically, what we're saying is, in 6 months' time, you could have the thing that you think that you can't have.
Mm.
And we work together for 6 months, and within those 6 months we do all of the past work. Now I call it shadow work. It's all of those things, all of those, that voice on the inside that says you can't, you're not good enough, you're not worth it, all of those things. We unpick all of that and get rid of it, because we don't need to carry that stuff around with us. We don't need to carry that resentment around. It's too heavy, and it stops. We haven't got our hands free to pick up new things. We need to put it down. So we get rid of all of that, and we also look at past lives as well, because some of the patterns, and whether you believe in past lives or not, some people don't, and so I won't include that in the work that I do with them. But some people have that interest and think, okay, is this a pattern that is just repeated for me? And sometimes we repeat things because they feel familiar. So if we've done something in a past life, if we've been told or learned in a past life that our voice is not important, this time around, that my voice isn't important feels familiar. Oh, I recognize this feeling, so I'm going to stick with it. Even though I've probably already experienced it, I'm going to do it again. So we look at all of the things that we can to unpick all of that. So we really focus on the past, because I think you need to focus and unpick the past in order to be able to separate yourself from it and let those things go, so that you're not carrying it with you. And then we look at the future. Where do you want to be? So I skip the present. We go straight to the future. Where do you want to be? What are the things that you want to achieve? Where are you going? What is in alignment with you? And we build the map that gets you there. And then we come back to the present. And then we look at how can we make those steps every single day that take us to where we want to be. And alongside that, we do lots of other we do energy work. So learning what your energy feels like when you have your natural highs in energy and when you have your low points, and how to handle that and manage that. And we'll look at auras and how to connect with your spirit guides, and how to listen to your inner guide, how to develop your intuition, all of these things, because what it's doing is giving you this amazing toolbox of information that you know about who you are. I'm listening to the messages and I'm hearing them, and then I'm choosing whether or not I'm going to take that message and do something about it.
Fascinating. It really is a very interesting combination of all of these methods and tools that you're mentioning. Definitely agree with what you're saying about the patterns, in a sense, because I know from my work, of course, that we end up repeating patterns until we finally make the learnings and understand, okay, now I get it. This is this is what is driving me to do the same thing again and again, even though the results are completely not what I want them to be. So I like that you're saying that you're basically addressing it, finding the root cause, and then finding new ways maybe to doing things. And it's also so interesting how the going into the past life. I definitely believe in past life and all of that. So yeah, it's interesting. So I guess what you're saying is that it's not just the number stuff. It's really a combination of all of these methods that you found that are working to bring your clients into where they want to get to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that at the end of the day, the more you can know about who you are, the better equipped you are to handle anything that comes your way. And a lot of the time we pretend that we are somebody else, and we pretend it to ourselves.
Mm.
And I talk about, I would love to be the sort of person that wakes up in the morning, has a shower, does my daily tarot card of the day. I then do a meditation and, half an hour's yoga, and I, watch the sun come up and all of those things. I would love to be able to do that. That
Mhm.
is not me. That's not who I am. And so I have to accept that actually I would rather stay awake until 2 o'clock in the morning and sit outside and watch the stars than I would wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and watch the sun come up. Um,
Mm.
and I would rather, roll out of bed and get into the shower and then rush around making making breakfast for my son than I would getting up that hour earlier and doing yoga and meditation. And of course, I could, if it was a priority for me and if it
Yeah.
was really important to me, I could and I would. But it's not enough of a priority for me to do anything about it. And I think as well, that's where this whole should thing comes in. I should be doing this, having this, thinking this way, being this person. But if it's not enough of a priority for you, you're never going to do it. Or if you've got blocks in the way, if you've got something telling you that you can't do it, um,
Mm.
then you're never going to achieve it.
Yeah, and this is a really important point that I also found, that a lot of the time people are starting to, they want to do something, they want to change, they want to something or other, and then they try and they fail, or what they think is a failure, and then they say, well, I can't do it. Maybe a little bit like your client with the weight loss, and then they start telling themselves off, and they beat themselves up for not being able to do this, or to create the change. And 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 it's really interesting. A lot of the time when I end up meeting them, it's actually when they're at that phase of thinking, I'm useless or hopeless, or I just can't do it, and they think it's their fault. And then I try to say, actually, it's not that. There is something else. There is something else, some resistance here, that until you unpack that, you won't be able to do it. And it's so, I think it's freeing when you get this permission, in a sense, to say, actually, it doesn't mean that you're rubbish and that you don't have a willpower and all of that, but there is something bigger here that you haven't walked out, you haven't looked inside, you haven't really understood what is going on. So I think it's really just important to always reassure people at some point. Of course, not everyone, but really, when you try something and it doesn't work out, and maybe you try it again, just it's the opportunity now to look at it from a completely different angle. It's not just about your willpower. There is something else that is bigger than that is holding you back. So let's figure out what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that when we have that, a lot of people have a fear of failure. And so they
Mm.
don't even try to begin with, or at the first hurdle, they're like, oh, that's it. No, can't do it.
Yeah,
But I think that the same amount of people have a fear of success. What happens
absolutely.
if it works? What happens if I get the thing that I want? Then what? And I think that the two things combined can stop you from doing everything and anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that actually it leads to a lot of guilt. I think that we feel guilty because we can't, we should, or all of those words that just are the blockages, all the words that are the stoppages. And then we carry around this guilt. I can't do it, so I must be a bad person, so I must be, rubbish or hopeless, or all of those other things.
Mm. No,
And
that
I
that definitely resonates. Even as you said, and I also say exactly the same thing, that a lot of the time it's the fear of success that is holding us back. And actually, it's really about this self-image of saying, actually, yes, I've been dreaming about this for all this time, but I haven't done the journey. I haven't been through the steps. So here we are, and we are on the path. And sometimes people say, well, it's a little bit too fast, and I don't recognize myself. I don't know how to behave, how to think, how to show up. So, and yes, as you say, it's very scary if you're not, if you haven't factored for it. So it is definitely a very interesting journey to unpack all of that, and help people to get to where they're meant to get to.
definitely, I had a really interesting comment yesterday, in fact, on Facebook. A lady had asked, I keep asking the universe for help and support. And I just feel like they're throwing challenges in my face all of the time. And I can't overcome these challenges. And why am I asking for support and I'm not getting it?
Mm-hmm.
And I never usually see posts from this particular group, but it just happened to be at the top of my feed. And I was like, oh, I need to comment on this.
Mm-hmm.
And my comment was that if when we ask the universe to help us manifest, and we want to manifest our destiny, there's a couple of things that happen. Either we ask the universe and then we sit back and go, good, the universe will take care of that for me, done. Or we ask the universe and then work towards it. But if we're asking the universe for help and support and we're coming up with against all these challenges, at some point you have to ask yourself, is the path that I'm on the right one? If you're in a toxic relationship and you're asking the universe for love and commitment and trust and loyalty and all of those things, and you're coming up against challenge after challenge, you have to at some point ask the question, is this because the love, the loyalty, the trust, the honor, all of that kind of thing isn't on the path that I'm currently on, and I'm still trying to walk it, finding my way through all of these thorns and brambles, and the universe is putting up loads of stop, no entry, go no further signs, and I'm just ignoring them. And so if I have this belief that if your life is ridiculously hard, it's because you're not on the path that you should be. Because if you're working towards the things that are right for you, that align for you, the universe will help you and nudge you along in the right direction. But the universe will also say, stop, no entry, if this is not the road for you.
Absolutely. And this is also the, effort versus flow, right? I mean, are you in effort or you're in flow? And I agree with you. When you are on the right path, then definitely things flow. Things just fall into place. It is like magic that is happening. And when it isn't, then there is definitely some questions to ask.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. I guess this is a wonderful point for us to pause, although I do have a feeling that we could speak forever. It's so interesting and so lovely to speak with you here today. So thank you. Thank you so much, Gemma-Marie, for being here with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you. At the end, afterwards, when I finish the broadcast, I will add all of your links, so your socials and your calendar and everything, so people can follow you and get in touch if they want. And yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm going to add, I'll add my calendar to the post. And if you would like to chat to me about anything that I've spoken about, then please just book a time and I would love to chat.
Brilliant. Yes, I hope people do take you that on your offer. Brilliant. Thank you so much. I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.